Welcome everyone to another devlog about Dimraeth, which is a multiplayer-focused ARPG with crafting and base building elements. And today, I'm excited to give a character reveal for our first official character race, the Minotaur. For those of you that might be new to the program, Dimraeth is a fantasy RPG where you can combine your choice of race and class to produce unique archetypes that affect your game's progression. That could be in the form of stats and attribute scaling, skill tree options, unlockable spells, etc. So why did we choose Minotaur as our first character race? Well, to answer that, let me tell you a little bit more about what our studio is planning. We recently had our first playtest, and I'm sure there will be a devlog talking about that, and actually there will be a second playtest coming soon for some of the people who join our Discord. But mid to late next year, we're really trying to get a demo out on Steam so that people have a free multiplayer version of the game and can decide if this is something they and their friends want to play together. This is also a perfect reminder to ask you guys to wishlist the game. It not only helps our visibility on the platform, but will also notify you when the demo is released. Now, in order to work towards that demo, we need to have all the game systems in place, but we don't necessarily need to have all the races and classes done, so we're focusing our production specifically on 2 races and 2 classes at the moment. One is ranged and one is melee. We decided the Minotaur was probably the best melee option and also gave people a strong fantasy character that I don't typically see in a lot of RPG games as a player option. You may all have seen our first couple devlogs where we showed some original versions of the races, including the Minotaur. I had fully expected those characters to be our production assets, but as the quality of the game improved, it became more and more obvious that the characters don't really match the environment anymore. And also, we have more artists on the team now, and they felt like they could produce something more tailored to what we all wanted to see. We actually used this opportunity to add male and female options to the game because I think people who are playing this genre generally want to feel as connected to their characters as possible. So I think it's an important option to have. Now, in the first devlog, I showed how the game started with just me as a solo developer, and along with that came me drawing the characters myself. I think we can all agree that art is not one of the gifts that I possess, and we'll go ahead and skip to the second version of the Minotaur. I had paid a contractor to create this version, and to their credit, they did a pretty good job making the pixel art fit what the world actually looked like back then. But from a design and lore perspective, making the character's auto attack a headbutt seemed like a fun thing at the time, but there are definitely downstream ramifications for choices like that. Once we decided on making a new version of the Minotaur, that gave us the opportunity to fully research what design, animation, lore, sound effects, etc. that we wanted for the new character. Nathan, who is our lead pixel artist, started working closely with design to flesh out what style we wanted to go with, and he came up with a bunch of different concepts, and we actually put out a vote on the Discord to see what people resonated with the most, and once we locked down that decision, he started on the concept animations, and this part really impressed me. I think my appreciation comes from the fact that I'm an engineer, and it's really cool to see how someone can come up with so many creative options and quickly bring any of those to life. I personally would have had to expend enormous amounts of mental energy just to come up with all those options. Philip, who is our game director and lead designer, wanted the character to have a bulky, Greco-Roman look and feel, and this goes along with the lore of the world where the Minotaurs are supposed to be a warlike people whose culture is reflected in that. When I asked Nathan what his inspiration was for drawing the character, he told me Warhammer Space Marines and Capcom. I don't think up until this point I've actually talked about what the title of the game, Dimraeth, actually means. To keep it brief, there is a continent with distinct biomes that are separated by a sort of star-shaped mountain range, and at the center of that range is a large mountain called Dimraeth, which is the major passageway for trade to each biome. A trading post is formed there which unites people in the land, in trade, and eventually grows into a sprawling city where its influence threatens the main antagonist of the game. The Minotaur race is from one of these biomes, which we've called Boulderfell Barrens. It's a rather harsh environment, and Minotaurs grow up similar to the trials that Spartan children faced in the Greek Empire, with an emphasis on discipline, strength, and tactics. The Minotaur is not just your typical brute. We designed them to embody a mix of a cool, confident soldier and a raging berserker. They have these slow, powerful attacks with big windups, but it's compensated by having a wide, sweeping area of effect that feels really satisfying to land. Now, like all the races in Dimraeth, Minotaurs are not locked into one specific playstyle. We wanted every race to have flexibility, so you can customize their abilities depending on the class you choose. For example, if you decide to play as a mage, Minotaurs have strength scaling spells. So even as a spellcaster, you can still lean into their raw power. When it comes to the skill tree and the race spells, Minotaurs are all about earth magic. They also have some options for field command style, support abilities, and close range combat skills. So whether you're smashing through enemies on the front lines or you're using your strength to buff your allies. There's a lot of versatility to explore, as well as spells that can be unlocked based on the attributes you choose to level up. The character definitely feels powerful in game and almost reminds me of a Reinhardt in Overwatch and the feeling that you get when you play with other people. And for those of you who have seen all the devlogs up until this point, you may have noticed some footage where I'm moving without clicking the mouse. That is because we have added WASD support now, and also played around minimally with getting controllers to work, but official controller support is not really a rush for us right now, so players can expect that we will be able to support mouse, WASD, and controller, very similar to how Path of Exile 2 works. Well, that wraps up this video. I appreciate everyone's support for the game. Comment below what races you would like to see in Dimraeth, or drop a message in our Discord where other members on the team can answer your question. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.